Welcome to Mommy Travelist. I'm Dana and I have a video for you today describing how I get by in my Class A motorhome without a tow car. So I have 5 kind of specific tips for you if you're interested in RVing in a Class A motorhome or in any RV where you might need a tow car or you feel like you think that would be convenient. And I also have 2 kind of general tips that are, I don't know, probably good tips for life in general. So the 2 kind of broad tips are, number 1, be strategic with where you camp or where you park. Consider that if you have a large RV, that you may want to stay in spots where you don't need to really utilize a vehicle to get around or to see the things that you want to see or do the things that you want to do. So this may mean choosing national or state parks where the attractions are walkable or where there's a shuttle in place. You might need to do some research on when the shuttle operates, if there's a fee involved in the shuttle, where the stops are so that you can consider which campgrounds you want to stay at. So for example, we stayed at Glacier National Park in Montana and we got there before July 1st, which is when the free park shuttles become operational. So keep that in mind. If you're going to a park where they have free shuttles but you're there before they operate, then you're kind of stuck. And the second broad tip is to be flexible. I remember when I was debating on bringing a tow car or not, I thought to myself, if I bring one, there's probably going to be times where I go, oh, if I just didn't have this tow car, or man, I wish I didn't have this extra length or this extra weight or this extra, gas guzzler, whatever it might be. And that also if I didn't bring a tow car, that there would certainly be times where I would think, oh, I wish I just had a car. I wish I could just run down here real quick, do XYZ, whatever. So I knew going in that I would have to be flexible, that there would be some times, I don't have a tow car, so I knew there would be some times that having one would be convenient or easier, and to be okay with that and be in the flow and just be flexible. Okay, so the 5 specific tips, I'm going to start with the one that I found the most surprising, and that is consider staying overnight at casinos along the way. This sounds a little strange maybe at first, but a lot of casinos offer free overnight RV parking. It's obviously not something that you could set up camp at, although I have seen that. But it's a great place if you're en route or you're having a long driving trip to stop and stay overnight, and it's usually free. There usually are not hookups available, but I have stayed at some where they had water fill stations, dump stations, really nice RV facilities. I stayed at one where they had a supervised play area for children, so you could leave your children there for a while. Of course, they want you to go to the casino. So I say stay at a casino because there is guaranteed restaurants, restrooms, entertainment, self-serve beverages within walking distance. You don't need a car. You can walk to food, you can walk to entertainment or whatever it might be. So this isn't a long-term solution to stay at casinos the whole entire time of your trip. I guess you could, but what I'm suggesting is that it's a nice break if you're staying a week or two at a state or a national park or somewhere where it's in the forest and you haven't easily had access to those kinds of things. It's nice to stay and break it up and you don't need a car. And the second tip is to use public transportation. So this includes the park shuttle systems if they have them, but it also includes regular public transportation like in any big city. One of my favorite park shuttle systems was Zion National Park. So they do have their free shuttle system within the park. Seems like it's a small park, so it's pretty easy to have a shuttle system in a park like that. Although the shuttle system only operates within a small section of the park, it is the most popular part of the park, and it's where I think any park goer would want to go to do the most popular day hikes. So they had a great park shuttle system, but they also had an additional shuttle system that ran in the city just outside of the park. So you could actually stay outside of the park, as I did, and take that shuttle it goes up and down to the restaurants or the various hotels and campgrounds, the post office, a grocery store, you name it, whatever they had there, you could very easily get to with the park's shuttle system, even though it wasn't inside of the national park. And of course it would take you to the park entrance where then you could take the park shuttle. So that was really ideal for an RVer without a tow car. Of course, we've also used city public transportation, light rails, train rails, buses. We've done this a couple of times where we've left our RVs at airport parking, where they often have remote or oversized parking available. And it's usually not too expensive. You can usually find, if you look and do a little research, you can find a pretty good deal. So we have done that before, where we've parked at the airport in order to use the best public transportation, and it's just been easier for us that way. So it's something to consider. This also means you may want to find a campground that is located within walking distance to a bus stop or a train stop or whatever. Sometimes those are kind of tricky to find. So in those instances, the airports have been pretty helpful to do that. Also, when we've wanted to kind of go to a bigger city and stay in a hotel and kind of experience it that way instead of by RV, we've parked at an airport and gotten transportation to our hotel. And the third tip is to rent cars as needed. So before embarking on a trip, you may want to consider what kinds of traveling you're doing, how often, where you're going, how often you might need a car, and weigh the costs of renting as needed with bringing your tow. If you don't have a tow kit for your car, the costs for that, the cost, there will be some extra gas involved if you're towing a car. Also, some campsites charge additional fees for an extra vehicle, which if you have a tow car, that would be an additional vehicle. So kind of do a little bit of a cost analysis to see if it would be worth it financially to bring a tow car, or to just rent. If there's only a couple times that you think you may need it, maybe it's more cost efficient to rent. Also, you can find some pretty cheap rental car deals online. Some have really good last minute deals. Some will actually pick you up at your location, so you don't have to worry about, where do I park my giant RV in this to rent a car? So that's been a pretty good option for me. And the fourth tip I have is to walk or bike to wherever you need to go. If you don't want to break camp and you're in your large RV and you need to go run to the grocery store or the whatever, consider walking. Or if you have your bicycle, consider using your bicycle. I don't actually have a bicycle. I thought I would really need one on this trip and want one to kind of do things like that, and just hasn't really worked out that way, but I have walked. So some of that might involve being strategic, again, with your campsite or your location. So you might want to find something that is within walking distance to whatever. We often look for campsites that are within walking distance of the hiking trails that we want to do or the local attractions. That's not always possible, and sometimes we have to rely on some other methods, but sometimes it is. So that's a pretty obvious option. And the fifth and final tip is to drive your motorhome. So I know that some people have they're all large, but some people have on the small end. I have a kind of on the smaller end of a Class A motorhome. Some people have huge ones, but they are meant to drive. So if you need to just run down to the grocery store or for little things like that, it's not too bad to just drive your motorhome, especially if you're in a national park where there aren't hookups anyway. What do you really have to do? We don't have an extensive camp setup, so it's kind of easy for us to just pack it in and pack it out. And my camera died. So those are my 5 tips for getting by without a tow car in your RV. They've worked out pretty well for me. I've been on the road now for about 2 months, so we'll see how it goes. I do have a car, and I kept it in case I might want to eventually tow it. I'm still kind of on the fence. I'm getting by okay, but there are certainly times where it would be more convenient to have one. But in any case, if you find yourself without a tow car, I hope these tips are helpful, and I'll see you in my next video. Thanks for watching.